Hello and welcome to The Stinger, a superfan's guide to Marvel, Star Wars, and much more in fandom. Joining me today on the podcast, as always, they're here for their parent-teacher conference. They're here to talk about report cards. It's Trent Neely and Joseph Sneed. How we doing, guys?
My job is pod.
My dad's gonna ground me for this report card.
Yo, there's some things on here that it's like beyond a grounding. It's like we need to talk about if the school thing is really for you or not.
Yeah, they're gonna send me to the factory.
All right. Hey, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to hit you all with our end of the year podcast. And today we start out with our report card episode. I'll speak to that in just a moment, but we thank you for tuning in to listen. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and then you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at The Stinger Pod. That's how you stay in the know. Just keep in the know, because not only are you listening to this right now, but then we are going to end the year 2023 with our award show. And so I want to double down, loop back to the social media promo, because if you are like us and you watched all these things that we're about to talk about today, then I have a feeling you're going to want to say in our award show. So the way this will work is throughout the next couple of weeks, stay tuned on Instagram and TikTok to see our posts where you can vote for who you think is going to win our awards. We're talking best movie of the year, best TV show of the year, best performances across the board in those categories, and a lot of other fun stuff. So make sure you follow us so you can stay up to date and vote on some polls that will have a major say in our award show at the end of the year. Y'all ready to do some like end of the year celebration?
Of course, we had a lot of big movie events this year, and a lot of reactions, especially in the fandom space. I feel like with franchises this year, this was a complicated year for fandom entertainment. So I'm curious to hear us all talk about it, with some stuff that I've gotten to rewatch, some stuff I've only seen just recently, and then some stuff I've loved all year. So it'll be fun to revisit everything, I think.
Yeah, I think this is the year the Disney checks stopped cashing for the reviewers.
Ooh.
So,
I mean, it's also the year the Disney check just stopped cashing, period, a little bit. There's a lot of underperforming box office things.
Yeah,
not just the Marvels. Don't let it get twisted. Not just the Marvels.
My Disney stock has not been great this year.
Yeah, no, same. And we're about to explore that in much more detail. Today's episode is our 2023 report card. So you've heard us recap things on the podcast before, and we tend to try to give everything we watch a grade. And that's our grading scale. We're kind of ripping off the public school system. All right, you can't knock us too much, right? So F to A+ range of grades, but we'll include the grade of S, the S tier, which stands alone above the rest as being like truly of almost a perfect caliber type of movie or TV show. So those are the grades that you will be hearing us dish out today. Guys, when you brought home the report cards back in your grade school days, were you coming home expecting a check or some cash, or were you trying to hide that thing?
No, I was being like, your boy killed it again, guys.
Yes, right.
Like
That's right.
Not to brag, but like that honor roll certificate's coming. Get ready to go to the assembly. Put on your best polos, and like the duds were like the names getting called. I was definitely that kid.
Flex
and, like,
on them.
I thought it was like the Super Bowl. Like I was Patrick Mahomes. Like at Disney World. Like I was like, let's go.
Well, which Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
That's true.
Oh, shots fired.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes just lost in the frozen tundra, but that's
Well,
beside the
when
point.
referees can't see DPI, what are you gonna do?
When
So
referees can't see that Mahomes is still in bounds and they don't wind the clock
I
on
actually I
completed
actually did
passes in
think I actually
bounds.
did think that they just sort of offset because he was 100% in bounds. Like my family was like, "Oh my gosh, he just got obliterated." I'm like, "That was a legal hit. He's perfectly fine."
So, it all balances out. But, I'm sure the rest of the NFC North, if only we had someone here to represent the rest of the NFC
I
North,
keep my name out your mouth, boy.
could probably say what they're feeling about Jordan Love's Sunday Night Football performance.
I'm
But
no Jordan Love's not good. We can't do this. I can't like
but
I need my heart protected.
But regardless, I wasn't expecting cash or checks when I brought the report cards home. But at the end of the end of the year report card, if it was good, we would maybe get like hey, you want to go out to dinner or
Oh
something?
yeah.
We get that. But the ones I don't know what y'all school systems did. We did grades based on a 6 week uh,
Oh,
grading time. Some people do 9 weeks or semester stuff. We did six
I
weeks.
think we were on that 9 week grind.
I think 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, the end of the 6 weeks ones, it was like, yeah, you better have done good for this part of the year.
You have like one test and a couple of pop quizzes to show for.
Yeah,
Yep.
whereas the 9 week it was like months, and so like your
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
like either learned very quickly that you were doing well or that you were like slacking beyond repair, and it was just like
Well, now parents have that online grade portal where like you fail a test and they know before you do.
I know they get
So
like the
That's
text.
terrible. I don't think I could grow up in this era. Not like knowing that like my parents are going to tell me that I failed when I got home. Nah, that's too much.
dad's waiting in his chair holding the belt already, like you
Yeah.
done goofed, son.
Yeah, I don't think that's for me. I
Nah.
I was definitely, an honor roll student myself. I if I do say so myself. Uh did y'all have the parents who would like put it on the bumper sticker on their cars like that,
No, I
my
mean
parents
it
definitely
would.
weren't doing that, but you would see them riding around the parking lot, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think like the whenever the quarter was closest to like Christmas break, if that was really good, that would go on the fridge so that
There
like
you
the
go.
out of town
Yeah,
relatives got
yeah.
like the quick update of like what classes is Trent taking? Is he doing all right? Like they could just be like, oh look, like here it is listed
You're
here.
like,
Like
skip the questions, check the fridge.
yeah, we're
I've
done.
got
No,
grade marks. No
yeah,
conversation over.
just Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
Like I'm here so I
exactly.
won't get
I'm here
fined,
so I
but
don't
check the
get fined.
fridge.
Yeah,
Exactly.
my dad had, well, he still has a very intense hatred of bumper stickers of any kind,
I kind of get that.
and he
Yeah.
really doesn't like the regular stickers that go on the window very much. But my mom's like, oh, we have to have the little family on the back, and obviously like a Bible verse sticker on her car. That's how my mom rolls. But yeah, my dad was not a my kid is a plus honor roll student person, and he was like, we're not putting bumper stickers on the cars. So
Well, it sounds like your mom did get a say in that battle, so good for her. Kudos to her.
yeah, she didn't get bumper stickers, but she did get regular
There you go.
stickers.
There you
So
go.
I got to see that my mom was both a Virginia Tech mom and a Liberty mom. So I
Classic.
didn't know my
We
parents
love
loved
that.
me until they had a sticker of it. So
That's true. When my sister and I went to Tech, there was Tech merch that came out. That's when it came out on the car. They did
Yeah,
get like the
yeah.
Virginia Tech license plate.
That's when you got to save up for that moment, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we can start talking about some content here, and
Mm-hmm.
I think before we do that, what I'd like to do is we're gonna take a little trip down memory lane real quick, guys. For those of you who have been listening all year long, you know that at the beginning of the year, first episode of the new year, we did a draft. We drafted our most anticipated projects in 2023. It was a stacked draft. There was a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff came out this year, so there's a lot to pull from. And we kept the receipts. So we're here today to uncover those receipts, and I'll leave it we can leave it to the audience. We'll hopefully put up a graphic on social media. Maybe y'all can help us decide who won the 2023 draft, but I'm gonna
I
read
know who
out.
lost.
We can crown a winner later, but we definitely can crown a loser today. No, I'm just messing. Uh
No, we know We know who lost.
Joseph, why don't we start with you then? Okay. So Joseph, we'll get this out of the way. Put your misery to an end quickly. Joseph drafted Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Secret Invasion, The Flash, Mando Season 3, Super Mario, Dune Part 2, RIP, and Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now tell us how you feel about that draft, Joseph.
My draft sucks.
There
I think we've got a hit on there with Mario.
you go.
Mando season 3 was fine. Secret Invasion is like the worst thing Marvel Studios has ever done. Quantum Mania kind of stunk. The Flash, I didn't even watch, and I think when I drafted it, it was just because it was the last DC thing there. And from what I've heard, it's not very good. Dune 2 was the tragedy of this year because
Yeah.
it didn't even come out.
The Greg
And-
Oden of this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great next year, but I mean, my draft needed a quarterback. We needed a quarterback this year. Dune 2 was the quarterback, and it got hurt.
Got hurt.
So.
Yeah. We're not saying Dune 2 didn't work. It's just, TBD, is
we're just saying that Dune 2 was trying to run out onto the field, and then its Achilles got torn right on.
I mean, you can't.
That
hurt
is
me with
pretty
that
fitting
because that didn't happen to the Green Bay Packers, of whom I am an owner. But Dune 2, he's on IR for this year. I think he's going to be a strong contender for next year, but it kind of sucks that the year is lost, and I didn't see Rise of the Beast either, even though it looked
gave
okay.
up on his draft pick.
We punted
Rise of the
this
Beast
year.
got sent to the practice squad.
Now, I will say I will definitely defend the Super Mario Brothers movie because I unapologetically really, really loved that movie. But the rest of the stuff on here is kind of hit or miss. Lots of misses. Mando season 3 is probably my second best player, and it was the weakest of the 3 Mando seasons.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We all fall down sometimes.
I really thought at the beginning of the year when we drafted that mine was going to be incredible. And then, I guess my first one on here was Quantum Mania, and it was pretty much downhill from there until Mario.
Yeah. Better luck next year. Honestly, sometimes you just got to take one on the chin. It's a hard predictions game. Trent, we'll move to you next. Trent drafted Guardians 3, Echo, RIP, Shazam 2, Vision Season 2, What If Season 2, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now we're moving up the ladder, it seems. How do we feel, Trent?
Yeah, I'm feeling actually pretty good about that looking back. I mean, I think Guardians 3 is like the best thing that Marvel produced maybe since Endgame. Like I might go there. Shazam 2 doesn't quite work. Wasn't quite as fun. I remember I said I was more when the original release date for that was announced. I was like, I'm more hyped for this than I am for Wakanda Forever.
Did you really say that?
I forget if I said more hyped or if I just said the trailer increased my excitement for what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, buddy.
Compared to, and then you took Wakanda Forever talking about Comic-Con when we did that episode.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I remember that now.
So that aged incredibly poorly. So sorry to Ryan Coogler and everybody who worked on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Mission Impossible, guys. I just wanted to see Tom Cruise jump a motorcycle off a cliff.
Who wouldn't?
I saw him jump a motorcycle off a cliff. It was one of the coolest things I saw all year.
Yeah.
I watched it 10 times once it became available on VOD.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Visions, Star Wars Visions wasn't as strong as season 1 in terms of there wasn't a standout episode for that one for me, but I love that concept for a Star Wars property.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm except for Fury of the Gods. I think I'm feeling pretty.
You did good. And unfortunately, What If Season 2 got pushed, so you have to
Yeah, so that's
wait for
the very end of the year.
And then Echo got pushed to next year, so you also fell victim to the scheduling issues.
Yeah, but I gotta say that Echo trailer too. I'm gonna stand by that pick based on the
It's a
trailer
g-
we got for Echo.
it looks good. It looks really
I'm
good.
like I'm gonna stick with that.
I don't. I mean, it could happen. I don't see a world where Echo is worse than Secret Invasion.
No,
So
no,
you're already beating me there. Because even if Echo is bad, it doesn't have the build up. So
right.
yeah, Trent, I think you had a very strong one.
Thanks, guys.
I
You really did good. I think Mission Impossible and Guardians are like that's your Steph and
Those
Clay
are the
right
heavy
there.
hitters for
Yeah,
sure. That's the
yeah
Tua and Tyreek
yeah,
of this.
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Guardians 3 is like a superstar
I
on
think
there.
you picked out number one overall in the entire draft.
I'm gonna humble brag a little bit. I was supremely confident. I was like, if this trailer says like this could be like one of the best things Marvel ever does,
Yeah,
I was feeling that pretty early.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, and I got Quantum Mania. You know, the Mitch Trubisky of the draft, probably. But
Yeah, yeah, that's actually pretty accurate. I'm not gonna lie. Um, my draft board looked like the Marvels, which I still have not seen. Loki season 2, Aquaman 2, which has not graced us yet. Ahsoka, Across the Spider Verse, Dungeons and Dragons, and The Last of Us. Now it's my turn to flex, and I just gotta say I've been waiting all year for this moment, guys. I was supremely confident when I entered that draft, and I'm supremely confident now. I mean, I believe I had the best draft out of the three of us. I'll just say that. Um, gotta say, Ahsoka is a solid pick on the team. I picked it really early. Loki season 2, also a solid pick on the team. But really, what I most well, actually, let me say Across the Spider Verse, I love you. You made me proud. You were my number one pick, my first round pick, and you delivered. What I'm most proud of, though, is somehow I snuck Dungeons and Dragons and The Last of Us on here when I knew next to nothing about either. And I mean, they outperformed. I mean, I really feel like I got Tom Brady out here in the 6th round with these guys. It was really special. It was special.
Yeah, yeah. The Joshua Dobbs of this year's movie picks, if you will.
The
I
Joshua
think it's
Dobbs.
fair to say.
I think that
yeah,
is fair to say.
Ahsoka is like your solid left tackle that you really really need in there. You know, I haven't seen D&D or Last of Us, but Spider Verse 2 is like that first round pick. I don't think you did. Wait, you said you did it first
I
round, right?
did. Yep. Yep.
That it's that first round pick that you're like, this is not going to fail.
Yep.
Like this thing may not be a Hall of Famer, but there's no way it fails.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got a really strong draft too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for the love,
yeah.
guys. All right, let's get into the intricacies of this. Let's talk about dishing out some grades on all these things and much more. So we're gonna try to move as best we can in chronological order in terms of release date throughout the year. And my memory best serves with things starting out in January last year with The Last of Us, the HBO series that Trent and I have watched. Joseph has not. So as you'll hear as we move throughout this episode, not all of us have watched everything, but at least someone has watched whatever we're talking about. So Trent, I'll defer to you first with The Last of Us. What is your grade on season 1 of The Last of Us?
Yeah, The Last of Us. I mean, this was a very hyped thing because the video game won like a million Video Game of the Year awards back in 2013. It was the question of can this be turned into a TV show and have something different to say?
Mm-hmm.
I think narratively it is a very literal adaptation of the game, but I do think that Pedro Pascal and Belle Ramsey were able to find some different um some different layers and nuances to both Joel and Ellie that weren't present in the game from like the walkthrough that I watched years ago. And yeah, I think the direction of the show is just so good. The emotions and the heavy hittingness of it is great. And yeah, I'm never not going to be down on a well executed zombie esque show. This was a really not a surprise, but it was just like more can they pull this off? I don't know, and I think they did. I'm gonna go A-
All
for The
right.
Last of Us.
All right.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say other than what you said. For me though, the perspective's different. I didn't play the game. I had no real attachment to it. I was just excited for a new show with Pedro Pascal in it, and there's like a lot of buzz surrounding the creative team behind it. And so to me, it delivered in it's just being a rich new story to
Yeah.
uncover. And I can't wait for season 2, and it seems like we're gonna get a season 3 as well. I am like chomping at the bit to get there. It wasn't perfect, but it's in my mind it was like near perfect. This is one of those things where it exists inside of of an IP because it's a video game, but for me, I didn't feel like it because it could live as its own prestige TV show if you had never played the game. So for me, I'm gonna give it an A+. I really
Nice.
felt like it
Like it.
delivered across the board in nearly every way. So A+ for The Last of Us. And we talked about this earlier in the year. So if you want to get more detailed thoughts on it, you can go back and listen to those episodes. All right. Next, we are gonna take a dive off of the high dive into the deep end here. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. All
Uh-huh.
three of us have seen it, and we reviewed it on this podcast, so we'll be brief here. Trent, what's your grade?
You know, like walking out of the theater, like Matt and I, like genuinely not laughing at the movie, but laughing with the movie when the ants reveal happened of like the super advanced society of ants happened. We were like, okay, this is going full Flash Gordon. I'm kind of here for it. And then, but like the more and more I sat with it, and then we did our
Yeah.
pod. I remember we hopped on the pod Zoom session. We all were like, I think we liked that, right?
Yep.
And then we talked about it, and I'm like, did I like that?
Yeah.
And then the months have gone by, and I'm like, I didn't like it. I think for me at the end of the day, there's some great performances here. There's some really fun moments. It is way too torn for me between trying to be like a fun Flash Gordon movie and then also like the serious thing about Scott Lang actually
Yeah.
becoming a better dad and superhero.
Yeah.
And so for me, this really is like a C- for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I liked it either. The more we talked about it, the more we were like, wait a second. Joseph, what's your grade?
I think I'm just gonna go solid C. Is for me, it's more just I don't dislike it. It has a lot of problems, and for me, it's just kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, it's not one that I'm going to go back and watch over and over again, like some of my favorites of the Marvel movies, and even some of the ones that aren't my favorites that I still just watch sometimes. This isn't gonna go down as like a Thor 1
Yep.
or even an Ant-Man 1, which I enjoyed but wasn't one of my favorites. And it's just forgettable. And that's really all I have to say about it.
Because those movies still had like charm and personality, and this one just didn't. Honestly, like Kang brought the most of that, and it's like he was kind of wasted. I don't know. And that's
Especially,
the biggest. Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
especially when you see Kang in Loki season 2.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is they advertised this movie like it was a must-watch event, and when you think about it, it really doesn't matter at all. Like there are no. It is kind of pointless. There are no lasting ramifications. My grade is a D. It little harsh, but like I think it actually just makes me angry that like we got sold something that was so completely far from what we actually got.
Yeah.
So that's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Real damper on the early part of this podcast. Next we have the Bad Batch season 2, which I have not watched to completion. I have seen about half of it. So Trey and Joseph, I defer to you.
Yeah, Joseph and I did do a couple episodes, I think, on the Bad Batch. So if you want to hear more detailed stuff, be sure to look up in the catalog those episodes. But yeah, I was a little nervous about Bad Batch season 2. I liked season 1, and then season 2, there was a slow start, and I was like, I don't know. And then Joseph and I talked about this earlier this year. There's like the last 3 episodes of the season, and especially like the finale. I was like, oh, like another Disney Plus show did this as well. It's like an entire season of television was saved with a finale. Like, good job. Like, yeah, I've grown to love Clone Force 99. I can't wait to spend some more time with them again. And maybe no, I can't say it's my favorite Star Wars show of the year, but it's probably my favorite
Oh,
finale. It's probably my favorite finale for a Star Wars show for the year. I'll say that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a B plus for the Bad Batch season
ooh,
2.
okay.
Yeah, I think if we graded it kind of how we split the episodes up of kind of like I think we did like batches of four or so, or like
I
half of the
believe that's
episode
how
at
we
a
did
time.
that.
If it was like the first half of the season, I probably would have gone like a C minus. But I think with how kind of it went from the mid season to the end of the season, I'm going to give it a B overall, because the end of the season was probably an A, but you can't just ignore how not great the first part of the season was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming off of season one of The Bad Batch, not a huge fan. I still think there's problems with the character development of The Bad Batch, where pretty much none of them are the most interesting characters in the show,
Yeah.
except
100%.
for Crosshair now. Um, but the end of the season was really, really good, and it had me looking forward to season three more than I was looking forward to season two after the first season ended.
Yep.
Yeah, those, and it still holds true that some of the best episodes of the Bad Batch are the episodes that they don't even appear in, or they're in for like 5 minutes.
Yep. That's also
Yeah,
true.
it's
Which,
kind of awkward.
with the exception of the Crosshair episodes being not really Bad Batch episodes, um, but those were still the best of the season. And then the end of the season was really good.
Yeah,
But
I'm personally really excited to finish it whenever I get the chance to, because y'all when it was coming out, y'all kept texting me like, "Nah, you got to push through. Like, it's worth it." The beginning is tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's
Yeah.
tough to get through, but yeah, I'm excited to finish it. All right, next we have Shazam and the Fury of the Gods. And Trent, this one's all you, buddy. Me and Joseph did not watch this.
All right, so I need to preface this by saying that Shazam, the first one's probably my second favorite of the DCEU films. I think everything about that first Shazam works. Like the whole thing of it's a kid who gets superpowers and he does what anybody would do. Like he becomes a YouTube viral sensation and tries to like buy beer. Like I think everything about like that premise was executed so perfectly in the first one. And then we get to Fury of the Gods, which tries to tie back into Billy Batson's whole thing about finding family and keeping his newfound family together, but it loses so much of the sentimentality of and like the emotional core of what that first one had that made it work. The villains unfortunately are just not interesting.
Yeah.
And there's just like a whole bunch of CGI nonsense in the third act. Yeah, like virtually like nothing emotionally resonated with me in this movie like at all. Like this is a D for me.
Ooh, a
Yeah.
D. Yikes.
that's
I don't
tough.
think I realized it was that bad. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't
Yeah,
either
I mean,
expect
and
them to
let me
see.
clarify. I never like talking poorly about things, and people work really hard to make stuff. I'm not trying to
Absolutely.
diminish the hard work of anybody that put on anything that we talk about here today. And I'm not saying I could do it better. I'm speaking purely from how much did this resonate with me or not. That's all I'm saying. And for me, it really did not, and I was super bummed because I really liked the first one.
But
There's
I
one
don't
thing
think
on
you were
this list.
alone in that.
There's one thing on this list I'm gonna go after the people that made it though.
Hey, I mean that's a part of critiquing stuff. Is sometimes it
Not like
does.
not like personally or
No,
anything.
No. We all know what
Joseph's
you
going to
mean. We'll
send
get
hate mail. He felt it in his bones. Um, next, a pleasant surprise: Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I'll go first on this one, and then
please
I'll
do.
kick it off to you, Trent. I had such a fun time with this movie. It was like early in the year. Haley and I just looking for something to do on a Friday night, went to the theaters and got tickets to this movie and sat in a like midway filled movie theater. And let me tell you, I like immediately I was drawn in and kind of just delighted. Like I did not go into this movie thinking this is going to work. It's a movie based off of a board game that people have an extreme attachment to for years now. It just seemed like a random grab to make something IP that didn't need to be made IP, and yet it worked. And it felt very like old school blockbuster in a way. There was
Mm-hmm.
something that was just so pure about, when we did the Pirates podcast a few weeks ago, we're like, there's no more pirate movies. And then like there's also not that many like adventure movies, like pure adventure movies that are out there anymore. And this is an exception in my mind. And it's cool how they weaved in elements of the game to fit the narrative of the story. And then Chris Pine, my goodness, like what a guy. I just love him
One
so
of the most
much.
underutilized actors in Hollywood, in my opinion. Like
Absolutely.
it's tragic, like how much we're not
He's
using him in everything.
he's
Yeah.
honestly he's one of my favorite actors.
Yep, me
He's
too.
so good. Yeah, and just so charming. Like, my goodness, this guy, just the talk about Riz. Um Dungeons and Dragons, I will give a B plus. I really, really enjoyed this movie.
One
Yeah.
quick thing about adventure movies. Sorry, Trent. What was that
No, go
one
ahead.
with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum? Was that The Lost City?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
a fun adventure movie. I'll give it to
That
that
was
one.
I haven't
also
seen that. Interesting.
amazing Daniel Radcliffe performance.
Oh, he's in
Amazing
that
Daniel
too?
Radcliffe. Oh, he's
Wow.
incredible
Yep.
in it.
Okay. All right.
Brad Pitt's performance was pretty funny too.
Brad Pitt's also great.
Okay. I
Yeah.
need to go watch this, apparently.
All right, that'll be a Patreon bonus episode in 3 years. We'll do the Lost City.
Exactly. Trent, how about you? What's your grade?
No, yeah, I same thing as you, man. I was like, this is just another franchise starter. Like, we'll see if this is any good. And then I kind of loved it. I don't want to
Yeah.
really compare it to this movie because I think it sets the bar too high. But this is the closest in feel that I've been reminded of The Princess Bride in a movie since that movie came out.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Because like The Princess Bride has the whole thing where it's the grandfather reading the story to the kid, and you're seeing
Yeah.
the story. And this they never break the fourth wall, but you get the feeling that they wrote it in a way that you can imagine that this is either literally happening or that it's a D&D game being
Yeah.
played, and
Yeah.
you're just seeing the game unfold, and it works that way too.
That would have
That
been kind of
that
cool if they did that.
comparison that comparison actually makes me really want to watch this now. I kind of wanted to watch it anyway, but hearing it described as the Princess Bride, or kind of like the Princess Bride,
On steroids.
Yeah.
Well, like
I
in
can do
terms of production value. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
it's yeah.
It's not the same thing. I
No.
do not want to put that blasphemy on the Princess Bride's name. But yeah, and also like I think this might just be not the best, but like the most fun I had with a movie this year,
Ooh.
maybe.
Ooh.
Like between the Jonathan bit at the beginning
Oh, that was so good.
and the questioning the dead people with the 5 questions. Like that's the
yes. I
that's
forgot
the
about
hardest I've laughed at a movie like this year for
that,
sure.
and they put that in the trailer, and I remember
Yeah.
thinking like, "Oh man, like don't waste a good joke." But then it was like still just as
It was
funny.
even better.
It was
It's better.
yeah, it was even better in the movie itself.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an A for this one. I
Nice.
really
Okay.
loved this movie quite a bit.
Oh, see, I want to go rewatch this now. Like I
think it's
forgot
streaming on Prime Video and Paramount Plus.
Paramount
now.
Plus. That's right. Yeah, like Paramount kind of like sneaking in some bangers this year.
Yeah.
They really came off the presses from Top Gun Maverick and continued to crank them out. So, all right, we move on to another feel good, fun time, and that is the Super Mario Brothers movie. This legitimately was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Like no exaggeration.
Yep.
Joseph, I know you particularly love this, so I'm gonna let you kick things off. What's your Super Mario Brothers grade?
So when little kid Joseph was looking at his video games, there are 3 that come to mind. There is Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. There is the OG Battlefront 2, and then there is Mario Kart.
Oh yeah, baby.
And I went into this movie and I said, I don't care if the rest of the movie is hot garbage. If the Mario Kart sequence is amazing, I'm going to love this movie. And first off, the Mario Kart sequence was amazing. And
Yes.
the rest of the movie was not garbage. I had so much fun with this movie. I went and saw it with my brother-in-law. I think before he was my brother-in-law.
What a bonding moment.
So we had so much fun watching this movie, that little existential blue star was the
Oh my
highlight of the
gosh.
movie for me, even
Yes.
above the Mario Kart sequence. Seeing Rainbow Road in real life was like an out of body experience for me. Well, not in real life, but in like a movie. Uh, they're throwing green shells and bananas, and the blue shell happens, and I was like, "This is amazing." That being said, the story was not great, but it didn't really matter. It wasn't on the level of a Pixar movie where it was like, this is a kids movie but has deeper themes in it that adults can relate to. But this is one that's like, do you want to have fun?
Yeah.
Because you're going
Yeah.
to have fun with this movie. So what you were saying about Dungeons and Dragons maybe being the most fun you had in a movie theater this year, I think I'm going to say that about Mario Kart, or about I'm just calling it Mario.
You're just calling it
What about
Mario Kart now.
the Super Mario Brothers movie? All that being said, though, the storyline is not great, so I'm going to have to knock it a little bit, but I'm going to give it a B plus.
Okay, yeah. I respect that. Trent, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I saw this late. I had to wait for it to come on like digital and checked it out with Emily and Matt one random like Saturday night at their house. We had a blast too. Um, I'm the biggest fan of Mad Max Fury Road, and I could tell that when they did the Rainbow Road sequence, they were like pulling some references to Fury Road in there. I was like, all right, you guys know what's up. Jack Black maybe playing the role he was born to play, people
For
like
real.
Yes.
and the phenomenon that was Peaches.
Yeah.
Let us not forget
Let's be
what
real.
Peaches
That was
did to
great.
the music industry. And also, like, you know, I agree the storyline is not great, but the one genius bit of plotting is that they switch out Peach as the damsel in distress for Luigi. Like, I thought that was great.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
Great expectation subversion. Ryan Johnson would have loved that. And so yeah, all that to say, but yeah, I feel very similar to you, Joseph. Yeah, I think that comes out to a very strong B for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna double down. Also a strong B from me. I don't really have much else to add. It was great. The first of two movies involving a fight sequence soundtracked to No Sleep Till Brooklyn featuring Chris Pratt. So, you know, just I know we all had that on our bingo cards for 2023. So next, back to the TV screen, Mandalorian season 3. We talked at length about this season of TV, so I think we can all keep it pretty brief here. Trent, I'll kick it back over to you. What's your grade?
Yeah, really enjoyed this season. I think the decision to reunite him and Grogu in Book of Boba Fett fundamentally hurt this in just a way that it could never quite overcome narratively. And more frustratingly, there's a moment in Mando season 3 where like the armorer's like, hey, we can't be so strict about like the creed and not creed. Go find all Mandalorians and bring. And I'm like, that's the moment he goes to get Grogu. Like you built it into the thing. But as a Bo-Katan stan, I texted Joseph a lot about how much I loved Bo-Katan as a character watching the Clone Wars. That I can be super mad about this. So I think it all comes to like a B. I think it's a B for me for Mando season 3.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of problems with this season. I think first and foremost was the Mandalorian was not the main character of the season.
No, he
Bo-Katan
was
was
not
the main character of the season, which I enjoyed her story, but Mando kind of took a back seat. I think, like Trent, it was a mistake to reunite Mando and Baby Yoda in Book of Boba Fett, and I think it was a mistake to even have them together this season. The Jack Black episode might be the worst live action TV episode of Star Wars. It ain't as bad as episode 9, so don't get me there. But yeah, that episode was awful. And I think there's just a lot of pacing problems with the season. They had this really cool Swamp Thing pirate lord that they killed off.
I forgot about him. Yeah, he was cool.
So I think I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, this is the weakest of the 3 seasons, in my opinion, of The Mandalorian. So I think I'm gonna have to go with a C on this one.
Oh, okay. All right. See, Joseph, I'm in your camp. I had my grade in mind. I'm also giving season 3 of The Mandalorian a C. Um I just like it felt like things happened in order to bring the Mandalorians back so that we can bring them back for whatever grand event is coming later in the Star Wars universe. That to me, that felt like the whole point of this season, and I just honestly I don't care about that. Not nearly as much as I care about Din and Grogu. And the fact that Din and Grogu took a backseat to that just man, it sucks. It just kind of sucks. I don't know. I think this is probably a larger conversation to have on a future podcast episode of just the Filoni verse and the direction that we're heading with everything. There are things like this that really I'm like, gosh, like there was something special cooking right here, and we took a detour that was unnecessary. Um, all right, let's pick the spirit back up. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume
Oh, here we
3.
go.
Trent's ready to sing its praises at the top of his lungs.
Yeah, I mean, so Guardians 1, I actually missed that in theaters back in 2014. And then I saw it
That's fair.
in a random night in a hotel room when my dad was on a business trip on my iPad. And still on an iPad, I was like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Um Volume 2 comes around in 2017, doesn't hit quite as strong with me. I actually appreciate Volume 2 a lot more now than I did back in 2017, and I'll talk about that in a minute here with Volume 3. Um and then Volume 3, there's so much background context that 10 years from now people aren't really going to remember, right? Like James
Yeah.
Gunn was fired and then he
Yeah.
comes back, and then this is like his swan song, not just for the Guardians but for Marvel before he goes to run DC. And so I was like, it was sort of this curious thing of like he can kind of do whatever he wants because we know that he's not coming back for any more of these, and like 2 or 3 of the actors have said they're not making any more of these, so the movie could be whatever. And it was just like such a beautiful, character driven, no setting up sequels, and like there was a definitive end, non cliffhangery point to this whole journey in this one. And I think pretty much everything about this movie works. The only thing that negative I have to say is that like I still think, having rewatched it a couple months ago, it feels a little bit wonky in the pacing. I think it feels a little too
Oh,
long.
interesting. Huh.
But like Bradley Cooper's voice acting is like gut wrenching at parts of
Yeah.
this. Like the High Evolutionary is like one of the most fun villains to hate in MCU history, just because he's so purely evil after having like these string of very complex villains, which are great. It's nice to have a villain that you can just hate like the guts of. Um, and yeah, like action, like the hallway sequence in this movie is like one of the better action things the MCU's done in the past several years.
It's
There's just like,
legitimately one of the greatest action sequences, in Marvel, period.
yeah, and everybody's talking about CGI and Marvel and the volume, and you could tell that James Gunn built these and his team, I shouldn't say just James Gunn, but his team built these ornate sets that were like physical, practical sets that you could feel.
Yep.
And everything about it just felt so tactile and awesome. I really just pretty much love everything about this.
It's really like it's like the Peter Quill quote from Guardians 2, the production crew, where excuse my French, but he says, "I'm gonna build some weird shit today." Like when he harnesses the power of ego or whatever. That's the production crew on the Guardians movie. Like,
they're just
none
going.
of those sets should exist.
Right.
It's great. It's great.
So yeah, I guess I should say like my grade for this is like an A+. Like it's not the S tier, but like I think it's close to that for me.
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of my history with Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw it the Thursday opening night it came out. I went with some friends, and I still remember what we did that night. We went to Bojangles first. I think we hit the old Toys R Us up, and we went and saw this movie that we were all like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not, but it looks good. And we went in, and it's like, I think it's like a top 5 Marvel movie for me still, the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just
special.
It's just an amazing movie. Guardians 2, not a huge fan of. The holiday special big fan
Yeah,
of.
don't
Really
forget the
funny.
holiday special. That's
It's
right.
Can't
it,
sleep on the holiday special.
as far as the two specials on Disney Plus go, I don't think it's as good as Werewolf by Night, but it was really
It
good.
was good,
And then
yeah.
Guardians 3 came out, and it's like they kind of took the criticisms that I had of Volume 2 of kind of making the characters into caricatures of themselves and kind of regrounded them back
Mm.
while still keeping their quirks that they kind of picked up. Um, I think all of the characters had satisfying endings that made sense, and they didn't have to die. I mean, we
Yeah.
spent this
Yep.
whole movie looking at like the stakes of what was going on, and you could feel the tension. And then at the end, nobody died, and you're like, "Yeah, that didn't feel wasted or anything. That wasn't bad." So I'm kind of where Trent is, where I'm like, "Is this S tier?" But I
Oh,
think I think I'm gonna keep it in A plus. Um,
okay. 2 A
this
pluses.
this we've got some other stuff on the agenda to go through, but this might be my favorite thing of the year.
Oh, okay. I
I
get the
think
feeling.
for fandom stuff, it's definitely
Oh
the
yeah,
front
I
runner for
mean,
me.
and
I
I
mean,
haven't seen.
obviously we're not talking about like Oppenheimer and past lives and stuff here today, so
Right,
that's a
right.
whole other.
I 2 A pluses. Okay, I love. I get the feeling that a lot of people feel this way about Guardians. That it's their favorite thing this year, and it is probably like top 3 for me. It's incredible. I can't say much more about it. The choice to make this like swan song send off movie, to make the plot that Rocket is going to die if we don't save him and do all these things in order to save him, is genius in my mind. It's one of those things where it's like, why don't we do more fandom movies like this, where the plot is like so like intimate? It's not X stranger comes from X galaxy to come destroy us. It's we got to save our friend from dying. It's so smart. And I just, I haven't rewatched this one yet, but I really want to, because it's one of the like movies, one of the few fandom movies that really gets you to feel something like guttural. You know what I mean? Like it is,
Yeah,
And
it's,
the
it's crazy.
they don't go for cheap feelings.
no,
No,
Like,
no.
because some movies will do the cheap feelings thing where they manipulate the light and the music and everything. This one, it all feels earned.
like what's gonna happen to Rocket's friends, and I still teared up like when it
Right.
happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like as soon as you meet them, you're like, these people are toast. Like spoilers for Guardians 3, I guess,
Yeah.
but like, and still when it happened and he lets out that scream, like it's devastating.
It is. Oh my gosh. Just think about it now. Yeah. You know what? I was debating on this one. I'm gonna go A plus as well.
Let's
It's
go.
I think it's gotta be. It's special. It's just there's not many other Marvel movies like it. Um and we're gonna stay in this kind of territory, at least in my opinion. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the second installment of the Spider-Verse movies. And I'll go back to back here. I'll start us off on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, because um I think the best movie of the year was Oppenheimer. But if I had to say what my favorite movie was, period, I think it's this one. And I don't know what the like I think everyone kind of has their favorite fandom movie from this year. This one's mine. I just like the, I remember when we did the draft episode, like we talked about this movie, and I remember you, Trent, being like, I don't know, like Into the Spider-Verse was just so good, like I'm worried they're gonna ruin it. And I had a little bit of the same concerns, like, yeah, they it when does a sequel ever meet the same expectations of a classic first movie, or maybe improve upon it? But I feel like that's what this movie did. Like I don't know if I don't think it's better than Into the Spider-Verse, but I definitely think it is close to equal. Um the fact that we get I'm not gonna ramble on for too long here, but the fact that we get a Gwen arc in addition to a Miles arc,
Hmm.
and the animation itself is, even though we're accustomed to the style, it almost seemed like more breathtaking the second time around,
Hmm.
is incredible to me. I'm just gonna I'm gonna like double down on what I said earlier this year. This is S tier to me, and I know not everyone's going to agree with that, but it is special storytelling, and I think this is something where like kids growing up watching these movies are going to look back and be like, no, that was like formative for my like years growing up. So it's S for me.
Yeah. No, I mean as a visual piece of art, like visually, this might be the most visually stunning thing, except for maybe like Oppenheimer that I saw, like my eyeballs witnessed this year.
Yeah.
The voice acting is great, both the returning people. Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk.
So good.
Like I rewatched most of this movie. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And it just confirmed for me, I'm like Spider-Punk like basically steals this movie in some ways. Yeah, the animation's great, the action's great. I don't love how much of a cliffhanger this movie is. And
really,
like,
is that why you stopped rewatching it?
So I literally got through the Spider-Man chase, and like he's gonna go to the other dimension, and that's basically the end of the movie for all intents and purposes. And then I think I looked at the runtime. There's 40 minutes left technically after that, and I'm like, I don't remember there being 40 minutes of plot left. And then I've never gone back to those last couple minutes. And I think since let me phrase it this way. If Beyond the Spider-Verse is amazing, which I have full faith it probably is going to be, I will view this whole completed movie, like this 6-hour movie, as like a masterpiece. But the fact that right now, while we're in like Schrodinger's cat sort of about it, like my opinion can be so influenced by how good Beyond the Spider-Verse is, I can't get over the hump of like the part one of it.
Okay, that's fair.
But I still really like it. I think for me, it's a A minus.
Okay. Joseph, how about you?
I kind of feel the same about it as Trent, is that it feels like it's so dependent on the third one.
Yeah.
To kind of judge it, because to me it is really long. And if I was grading Into the Spider-Verse, that one's an A+ to me.
Yeah.
And I think this one was a step down, not a big step down. And maybe a step down isn't even the right word. Maybe it just doesn't reach the heights of it, of Into the Spider-Verse. I think some of the pacing is weird because it is really long. But then you look at the really good things of the movie, is the characters are great. The animation style, which going back to the first one, I think a lot of people had doubts about. And then it comes out and it's like, this is incredible. And then I think this animation style kind of influenced another movie that we're going to talk about later.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, I think it's so dependent on how the third one does. I think I'm going to go a B+.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of variance here. I like it.
Yes.
I like it. Okay. Next up is The Flash. Trent, I believe this is only you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this brief just because I feel like there was so much conversation around this movie, like before it came out, when it was coming out. And look, the Ezra Miller stuff's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
That seems to be still an ongoing, evolving conversation. So I'm gonna leave that to the side a little bit. As a movie itself, there's aspects of this movie that work, like the core emotional theme of like our trauma is what makes us, and you can't undo everything. I think that's a worthwhile idea to put forth. And I think Michael Keaton is really good. And Sasha Calle, I think is how you say her name, is great as Supergirl. Would be happy to see her continue. But man, like the scene-by-scene plot of this movie it kind of doesn't make sense to me, and it's kind of irritating. Like the whole two Barry Allen doesn't work for me at all for like a narrative or a thematic reason that much. If you are going to watch this movie thinking that like Michael Keaton and Supergirl are going to be in it and like boosted up, they're in it probably for a combined 10 minutes of like the 2-hour plus screen time.
That's tough.
It feels that way. Batman's probably more, but like in terms of clearly seeing that it's Keaton in the suit or Keaton on screen and not a digital or stun double, it's like 10 or 15 minutes. Like It do not think that this is a Batman movie with the Flash in it. It is a Flash movie with Batman in pieces.
Oof.
I will. The opening action set piece with the Flash and Ben Affleck's Batman is actually pretty fun, and I think you can watch that in isolation and
Okay.
see some really cool things they do with Barry's powers and some fun stuff Ben Affleck gets to do action wise. That's pretty fun and worth watching. But yeah, but now that for me, this is like I think this is another D, like Fury of the Gods.
Yeah.
I was like I
was
really
worried
didn't
about
connect
that.
with this one.
It is crazy how much they hyped this movie up beforehand.
Remember when people were like, "This is the best DC movie since The Dark Knight"?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
people
and
were
I don't
saying
wanna,
that.
And I look, like artist objective. I'm not saying I'm right. Again, not trying to
But it's
kibosh
not
on the
even
people
close, though. There's
who
no
worked
way it
on
could
it.
be
I'm
close.
just like there's no way. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much about visual effects because we know how hard and overworked the visual effects artists are. But there's some truly bizarre, not just like CGI, like not looking real. It just like intentional artistic. You could tell that they chose to make it look certain ways, and it looks kind of horrifying at parts. Like
That's what you want.
So can I spoil something for you guys?
Yeah, I don't care. I truly don't care.
Like they bring dead people back. Like you see Christopher Reeve's Superman and
oh my
and
gosh.
Adam West Batman at a piece of it. And I'm like, this is so weird. And especially in the conversation we were having about like the strikes and like AI use of people's personhood. It's bizarre, man.
Oh, I don't like that.
Because I saw the scene because everyone was saying like, this scene looks awful. And I was like, how bad can it look? And I watched the scene on like YouTube and was like, oh,
yeah,
it really does look that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go find this now.
And let me say that it's not just like YouTube compression. Like I watched it on a pretty nice TV on HBO Max, and it looks the same. I was like, oh no, that's just.
Can I spoil one more thing, Josh?
Oh, I don't care.
They brought Clooney back at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, Ben Affleck's Batman doesn't exist by the end of this movie. Barry goes back, and now he's been replaced with George Clooney's Batman.
What?
Yeah. So Ben Affleck doesn't exist as Batman anymore, as far as I can tell.
Gosh, are you kidding me? That is unreal.
It just seems so.
I kind of can't believe they made this happen. It just doesn't seem worth it.
It seems. I kind of want you guys to watch it just so we can have a full on conversation about it, because I could break down for you all scene by scene.
It might be.
And isn't there? Go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say it might be fun to just have not a hate watch, but just truly a Mystery Science Theater 3000. Just we're gonna poke fun at this watch, you know?
Yes.
That might be fun.
Isn't there a scene where the Flash is trying to catch babies with a microwave or something?
Yeah. So, yep. That.
And the babies look like rubber.
Yep. That's what I was talking about, the intentional stylization, and that's part of the cool opening scene where it's Barry's trying to save. There's an explosion at a hospital, and the babies are falling through windows.
What?
And the scene does a cool thing actually, where the time slows down while he's in the Speed Force, but he's getting hungry. And so it starts speeding up slowly. So he has to break into a vending machine to eat candy before he can save the rest of the babies. And it's that's an interesting idea, actually, that it's not just about being fast, but it's about energy usage. But yes, in order to save a baby from being engulfed in flames, he sticks it in a microwave and then does a couple other crazy things, like putting them on a gurney that's falling through the air.
This is unreal.
It's I feel like when I'm talking about it, it sounds like I'm making it up.
It does. It sounds like you dreamed this.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of awful.
It does.
And from what I've seen, it looks kind of awful.
Yeah, no, it really didn't work, and it made all the hyping that remember when they had every celebrity got a special screening to this, Stephen King was I don't like superhero movies, but I loved The Flash. I was just
I want to know I want to know how much they were paying people. I
would be curious about that.
Well, they'd already spent $400 million on the movie. Why not just
why not spend a few more dollars?
But anyway, I mean, there's so much more I could say, but then we'd be on here for 5 hours just about this. So,
all right, next we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah,
a movie that Trent and I waited to watch on streaming this weekend. So it's very fresh in our minds. Joseph, you saw it in theaters, so I'll let you do the honors first of giving your grade.
So for the most part, I enjoyed it. I love the first three Indiana Jones movies. I don't like the fourth one very much. This one was better than the fourth one, but not as good as the first three. There were a good bit of things that I didn't really like about the movie. One thing I absolutely hate about the movie, but Josh, is probably not the thing you think.
I'm
Um,
curious.
and for the most part, the movie was fine. Is like the best I can say about it.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say it's really long. There's too many chase scenes. What I told Trent
Yep.
was I kind of don't like seeing Indiana Jones as like a broken old man. Um,
Yeah.
so I think I'm gonna go like I'll do like a B minus.
I think that broke a piece of your soul.
Yeah, and
What
now
was
if
the
we,
thing you hated?
I hated what they did to Mutt.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
I hated that
Yeah.
part. Um, yeah, I didn't actually hate I didn't actually hate the ending. I thought the ending was super weird.
It was so
Um,
weird, man.
It
but,
was so
now, if
weird.
we were going to take the mini movie that's like the first 20 minutes of the movie, that movie is awesome.
That's
Oh
like
my
an A
gosh.
plus.
Yes.
Trent, what's your instant reaction then? Because it's fresh in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly with Joseph. You know, too many car chases. I get it. Harrison can't be
Yeah.
dragged behind a truck anymore, so you got to do
Yeah.
stuff that is safer.
I
I
don't know.
actually
They still did some weird stuff with him on the back of that like little moped thing. I
they
don't know.
did. They did.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Joseph where I think the movie's greatest strength and weakness is that I appreciate that the movie acknowledges that Harrison Ford / Indiana Jones is older, but it's a weird
Yeah.
thing that the first 3 and 4 movies are just he doesn't have a character arc. It's just I don't believe that this thing is actually supernatural, and then it is. That's the arc, and then this movie actually tries to make him like this man at a time. I do actually like the contrast of putting him and his obsession with history in the space age. So this is what I was texting you guys
Yeah.
about. Like this is actually shockingly similar to the plot of Top Gun Maverick. Because it's like in Top Gun Maverick, it's like Maverick's out of place, right? You know, because they're like trying to do the
Uh-huh.
drone program thing. And then he has to do one more mission. Indiana Jones out of place. He has to do one more adventure. He takes on this younger kid who
Uh-huh.
he failed to be a good father figure for in the past. This is like
Oh
Maverick
my
and
gosh.
Rooster. And this is
Uh-huh.
like Helena Shaw and Indiana Jones. And then at the very end, it seems like our hero is going to sacrifice himself, right? Indiana Jones and Maverick. And then at the very end, their surrogate child ends up saving them and then allowing them to be reunited with their true love. And that's the end of the movie. Like it's the same.
It's
Dang. You're
the
right.
the motivation is just different because Maverick is like he's staring down like a helicopter about to die as a hero, and Indiana Jones is
And
like,
he's like, let me die.
can you please just let me die? Like
Also,
I have
can we
nothing
talk about
to.
the fact that this man got shot in the chest? Not like the foot. He
Yeah.
got shot in the chest and lived for another like 45 minutes.
To go back through a wormhole from ancient Rome, which by the
Like-
way, like insane, but I kind of love when they do the time travel as
Yeah.
all a circle thing and it all like goes back on itself. I kind of am a sucker for that, so that kind of worked for me. I actually like that better than if it was like he stops World War II from ever happening kind of thing. Like
I still
I'm-
I still don't know how I feel about the actual Dial of Destiny.
it's weird.
It's a gimmick. It really felt like a gimmick. But
And
I did like the ending still.
It's
I
more
did.
it's more gimmicky than the other Indiana Jones gimmicks to me.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
gimmicky than the aliens, I think.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, you're kind of right.
But all that to say, I'll give this one a C plus. Yeah, C plus.
Me too, Trent. That's my exact grade that I was also going to give it.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest. When I heard the reactions at a Venice Film Festival in the box office, I was expecting so much worse. And I was like, I had fun.
Yeah,
Like,
same.
Like he punches Nazis in. Whoops. He punches Nazis in the face. Like you know, he goes to exotic locations. Like it's
Yeah.
all there.
The thing is like it's the beginning of the movie. It's that first 30-minute, 20-minute segment of him on the train.
So great.
that and then just the pure nostalgia of it that really elevates this movie. And Harrison Ford is still Harrison Ford. That's the
And
thing.
And
Like,
and you
and
can tell he loves being that character so much.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah,
he loves Indiana Jones much more than Han Solo.
so
But
much.
yeah,
they
yeah.
take this artifact at the beginning of the movie. I can't remember if they explain in the movie what it is. The spear he's looking for.
Isn't
Yes,
that the
yes,
spear that
that,
supposedly pierced Jesus, right? That's what they
yes,
Yes.
say.
yeah.
And so there was like a comic story about it that I haven't read. It was just Indiana Jones and the Spear of Destiny, and I think the spear is way cooler than Dial of Destiny as an artifact of
I
like
believe it.
what
I
what
believe
kind
it.
of weapon is drenched in Jesus's blood. What kind of you know giving it more of the mystical, like what kind of
Yeah,
powers are imbued,
you got
whatever
it.
You
Imbued.
got it. You got it.
whatever that word
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
into this spear versus like Archimedes made a time traveling clock.
Yeah,
So
basically,
you know,
basically. Okay, Joseph, we're gonna stay on your corner because Star Trek: Strange New World season 2 came out this year, and there's a lot of positive buzz around it. I have seen the first 3 episodes of the entire show. Watched one of them with you, Joseph. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about it?
oh man, I loved Strange New World season 2 so much. I'll go on and tell you, it's an S for me. I loved this season. It
Oh,
was so much fun. There was so much different variety of episodes. There was like the classic Star Trek courtroom episode. There was the musical episode that was super weird and kind of made sense in it. There was the cartoon crossover with Lower Decks that was hilarious. There was the War PTSD episode that is like one of my favorite Star Trek episodes that's ever been made. The season finale was like a horror movie episode.
oh,
There's just so many different kinds of episodes in here. Like if there's one that you don't like, then there's probably another one that you will like. I liked
Nice.
yeah.
all of them, but
Good for
there was
you,
just
man.
there was just so much variety. Captain Pike is so much fun as a captain. Oh, I didn't even talk about there's the alternate history episode. There's the body swap episode. I mean, you have all of these classic Star Trek tropes all in the same season. The body swap episode, hilarious. The alternate reality timeline episode, gut wrenching, and it kind of influences the main character of that episode's storyline for the rest of the season and how she reacts to things. Because in the alternate timeline, she meets another character, alternate version, that you meet the real version in the show. And in the alternate universe, she falls in love with the character. She comes back, and that guy's never met her before, but she's in love with
Mm.
with who he looks like. So there's
Oh,
that whole thing, and she has PTSD from the body horror episode villains, and Captain Pike's an awesome captain. The war PTSD episode is called Under the Cloak of War, and it's amazing. It's like one of the best episodes of TV I've ever watched.
oh,
So just
okay.
Nice.
everything about Strange New World season 1 was really good too, but just season 2 took all of the characters and to you get to know some of the side characters even better. Obviously Spock is there, Uhura's there, so you've got some of the classic characters, maybe a certain captain of the Enterprise before he's captain of the Enterprise shows up a
Hey,
little bit.
A
Um, and I liked him better in season 2 than his appearance in season 1. Um, so yeah, would highly recommend Strange New Worlds, both seasons. And they're still recovering from the writer's strike, getting stuff restarted on season 3. So you got time to catch up on it. So just go watch it because it's
there we
amazing.
go.
okay,
There we go.
okay, all right.
You kind of
I
sold me on this. I'll be honest. I'm like ready to go now.
I just want to say, I feel like this is the reason we do this stuff. Fandom, like fandoms exist because people care enough about something that they just love it. There's a piece of them inside of it. Joseph, you just like put that on display. I feel like
So
I like genuinely.
so for me, Star Trek is not Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, but it's right after them. I'll take Star Trek over Marvel. So
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, it's pouring through your veins right now.
Yeah, I love, I don't love all of Star Trek. There's shows and episodes and movies that I don't care about, but overall, there's like 900 episodes, so of course there's going to be some bad ones. There's 13 movies,
Of
of
course, of
course
course,
there's going to be some
of
bad
course.
ones.
Hey, there's
But
a lot of bad
overall,
other stuff too.
it's so much fun.
That's awesome, man. That is so awesome. Next, I'm gonna kick off this one. I feel like I might like this a little bit more than you, Trent. Something we both watched, and that is the Apple TV Plus series Silo.
Yeah.
Silo is like, you said Dungeons and Dragons was your, like, one of your biggest surprise watches of the year. Like this is it for me. Silo might be my most pleasant surprise of the year.
Nice.
It just came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I heard about it either from you, Trent, or from like another close friend that like put me onto it. And me and Haley started watching this, and just the mystery narrative hooked me like nothing else has this year. Honestly, like it just like it was a little slow to start. I think that's probably where I would critique it the most, is that the intrigue was there from the first episode, and then it like lulled for a little bit.
Yep.
And then around the midway point, it just skyrocketed episode by episode. Rebecca Ferguson, my God, like, she is incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. Just at everything she does, but especially in Silo, like, she was just like throwing heaters episode after episode. And so, like, and then it ends with a great cliffhanger to set up a season 2. There hasn't been world building in like this for something that's so unknown by the general public, to then bring people in and have them like enamored for more. I haven't seen someone take an unknown novel series or IP like this and really breathe life into it like this in a while. So for me, Silo gets an A-.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really enjoyed this show. Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson, official fan club member ever since Mission Impossible Rogue Nation for Rebecca Ferguson. She's outstanding. The world building and like the hierarchy of these silos is outstanding. I think in terms of my individual favorite episodes of TV, the one where they fix the turbine might be like in the running for like favorite episode of any TV show. That to me,
wow,
like, and that's actually part of my problem with the show is I think the season kind of peaks with that turbine for me, the turbine episode. And it never quite picked up the same momentum for me in the same way after that. But the final cliffhanger though, it is something, and I'm very excited for season 2. I'm gonna go with a B for this one.
Okay, sweet, yeah, good stuff. All right, we talked about this on the podcast. Now I think we could just maybe we just go in a circle and give our roasts. Secret Invasion.
Yeah, like if I talk about this for any length of time, I'm just gonna get confused and not angry. That's too strong, but like a little bit.
No, it's not bad enough. It's like I didn't care enough for it to make me angry,
right?
But like, oh my God, like what happened here?
My point still stands where like I don't know what the story of this was, and like I don't mean literally, like I know literally what happened, but I mean like I don't know what they were trying to tell us about Nick Fury. I don't know what they were trying to tell us about the Skrulls. Talos is like the only person who has something sort of resembling a character arc in this. And it's a shame because like Sam Jackson's giving a decent performance. Ben Mendelsohn's giving, I think, a pretty great one. Ben Kingsley Adir in moments is a lot. Well, hold on. Ben Kingsley Adir is doing a great performance, and then the best part of his character is being said to a person who isn't actually Nick Fury, and that sent me like through the roof. Gosh, I mean, am I about to bust an F on Secret Invasion?
I'll say it.
I think I am. I really think I am. I just don't think anything about it really works, except for a couple performances.
I think, I will also say it's an F. I mean, like, I just don't understand how I
cannot wait. Sorry, real quick, but like, I cannot wait for 10 years from now, or like 20, whenever the MCU's like sort of past its prime, and like we actually get like the tell-all novel of like what really happened behind the making of this show, because it sounds like there was a lot of infighting and like different directions being pulled, and like it was so bad that it's fundamentally changed now how Marvel approaches TV making.
Right. It
Um,
actually like made them change how they
like
do
it
things.
broke it. It broke what
It
they
broke.
were
Yeah.
doing.
I just want to know who watched the Gaia and Kingsley Benadir's character. I want to know who watched that fight and was like, yeah, we're gonna put this out to the public. It's crazy. It's crazy. Joseph, are you also an F?
Yeah, I mean, I saw you
Yeah.
write down an F before
I
I even
did.
said there was an
I
F,
just assumed.
and
The
I
look
was
on
like,
your face told me everything.
so you guys remember how I was for Strange New Worlds? This is like the complete opposite. Like this is the
Yeah.
worst thing I watched all year. This was awful.
It was like hard to watch. It like got to a point where
And
like
Yeah,
and
I had to force myself to watch the end of it on an airplane.
me too.
if
Well, not an
if
airplane, but
if
Trent
I can
Bond
give
random.
if I can give a tiny, it's not a story spoiler, but I mean it's kind of is. But if I can give a tiny spoiler for the Marvels, nothing from Secret Invasion was even mentioned. It
That's
didn't matter.
crazy.
that's hilarious because they kind of set up the end of Secret Invasion like maybe he's going back to the
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
station thing or whatever.
Nick Fury's wife that went with him to space wasn't even in the movie.
Okay, so clearly, I feel
They
like
didn't-
originally, then Captain Marvel must have 2 was supposed to come out. The Marvel was supposed to come out first, and they didn't
But
know.
there's
Like,
stuff in it like with the scrolls. Like
okay, I don't
they're
know.
in
Then.
the Marvels. They're doing
Oh,
like their problems in Secret Invasion. They're having the same problems, but they never mention it. There is another planet in the Marvels that's habitable that scrolls are living on,
oh,
and they don't mention it at all in Secret Invasion. Nick Fury's wife was just like a waste. They killed Maria Hill for no reason. They killed Talos for no reason. The stupid president wants to kill all the scrolls and I guess all the Offworlders. So guess what, New Asgard? You're screwed now. And
true.
then something happens with New Asgard in the Marvels that makes even less sense after Secret Invasion. It's like you don't want everything that's coming after it is retroactively making it worse. And I already thought it was the worst thing ever when it came out. It's
bad.
garbage.
Man.
It is that's all it is. If
It's a tough time.
they need to come back like how they've done for some of these Terminator movies and been like, yeah, that doesn't exist in the universe anymore. We're gonna do
They
like
could.
we're gonna
The
do
thing is,
Secret Invasion, not 2, but just Secret Invasion again. But it's gonna be good this time. Like you were saying, that fight with Gaia and Gravik is like Marvel has had some bad CGI fights, and this is the worst. It's not. It's not
Yeah.
even close. It's the
It's like-
absolute worst one.
like comic books look better than what they did. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like legitimately, like you could pull off something better
If this,
hand drawn on a comic book.
if they
It's
took
it's
this
tough.
fight, if they took this fight and drew it as a comic book, didn't even have motion. It was just switch from panel to panel. It would 100% be better than what they actually got
Yep.
in motion in there.
Yep.
Because it looks awful. Why does Gaia have Drax's tattoos and Ebony Maw's magical rings? Rings are not even DNA. How did like we got everybody's DNA that was there, and then he's like pops rings out, and
It's terrible.
So bad.
And I feel bad because I actually liked the first 2 episodes. I was like, oh, this is an interesting hook. And then they just like you remember the I don't remember who does it, but it's a play in the NFL from years and years ago. I think it was a Vikings player. They get a fumble recovery and he runs it the wrong way, like 80
Oh
yards.
yes.
That's what this feels like. They were in the red zone. And they don't let the other team score on them. They score on themselves in literally the dumbest play ever, except for maybe the butt fumble. I mean,
Oh,
this could even be
an excellent comparison.
This could even be the butt fumble. This is like if the butt fumble and that wrong way touchdown had a baby, and Grandpa was like that stupid fake punt play that the Colts did against the Patriots.
It's tough.
It's like it's the worst Marvel thing ever.
It was the MCU's breaking point. Like
Yeah,
historians will point back to Secret
they
Invasion
they will
as the
they will
moment.
say this. They were like,
Yeah,
this is the moment. Like,
yeah, yeah.
It's awful. It's horrible.
Well, I have good news, and that's that we can stop talking about Secret Invasion now and move on to something that was really fun. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Trent,
oh, let's go.
tell me about it.
So this might be my favorite franchise. Currently putting out new entries right now.
Whoa. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Relax,
like,
relax.
wow.
I'm not leaping frogging over Lord of the Rings. I'm not jumping over even like Star Wars, like Harry Potter, like yeah. But in terms of new stuff coming out right now that I'm like I will be there opening weekend every time. It's just I know everybody makes a big deal about Tom Cruise and the stunts, but it's like nobody is. I don't think people understand. It's not just the stunts. Nobody's making movies, period, like this anymore.
Mm,
Like he's like, hey, I'm just gonna go to Abu Dhabi and film in an airport, and then we're gonna
yeah.
go to Venice and then Rome and have an awesome car chase on cobblestone streets. Oh, and also we want to have like the most epic train thing to happen in the history of cinema. Nobody's gonna let us do that, so we're gonna build a train so that we can have the ability to crash a train into a quarry. Like what? And then that's before we get into right before there was a writer strike that was in part due to AI. This whole movie is about
Yeah. It's
Tom
about
Cruise,
AI.
Tom Cruise slash Ethan Hunt defeating AI because it like will destroy humanity. Like this dude knows what's up with the current filmmaking
He
scene.
does.
Like
He does.
he understands. Rebecca Ferguson fights with a sword. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, no, Josh, I'm really curious talking to you because you have not seen any of the other movies, right? This is like your
I've seen 6. I saw 6.
oh Fallout. Fallout's great.
Yeah. Great
Yeah,
movie.
great
Great
movie.
movie.
This one is not as good as Fallout, just to show a little bit of rationale in my
Okay. I
brain.
was curious. What, yeah. Okay. That's so interesting for me here because as someone who's not seen any of it, besides 6,
Yeah,
I feel like the buzz when this movie came out was like, oh my God, Tom Cruise did it again. Like it is a peak cinema in our like current generation of films.
yeah,
And I really enjoyed this.
sure,
I did not feel that strongly about it, but I really enjoyed this movie a lot.
sure.
It's the everything that you said about the way the movie is made. You can feel it when you're watching it. You can like there's something at one point Haley and I were watching it, and at one point I like just kind of looked over to her and I'm like, dang, like I miss action movies. Like I
Yeah,
just miss action movies like this.
yeah,
Like where it's as simple as here's the bad guys. We gotta go stop them from deploying this weapon, and we're gonna like have some really cool action sequences to get there. And it's that simple. And it's not like in a corny, cheesy way,
no,
like some undercooked plots are. The plot is sound and intact. It's just that we don't have to care about like the like lore of something, that we can just get in and get out and have a good time. You know what I mean?
yeah. You just need to understand enough to know what the next objective is, and that
Yes.
can change scene to scene. Also, Haley Atwell, great
Yeah.
addition to this
Yeah.
universe. She
She
like
really
her
is.
chemistry with everybody is off the chain. Um, yeah, no, I loved everything about this. Um, I'm not gonna say it's a better movie, but as a part one, Josh, just to give you a
Uh-huh.
little bit of like this to me ends in a more understandable place as a part one than Across the Spider Verse, where I'm like
Oh, okay. I
the
got you.
status
Yeah.
quo makes sense, whereas I don't think the status quo of where Across ends can be maintained. Like we have to pick up
Interesting.
because
Yeah.
Like Empire Strikes Back, right? It ends
Yeah.
and then it can jump to Luke having finished his training, and you don't
Yeah.
feel like you miss anything. For Across the Spider Verse, I feel like Miles, it has to pick up exactly where he is tied to that boxing bag thing,
I got you.
and that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
problem for
True.
me. Whereas
Interesting.
Mission Impossible, I think it can also jump ahead a couple like days,
Okay.
weeks, or whatever, and I think that's the difference for me about these cliffhanger part one things. Still not a huge fan of
Interesting.
that practice in general, but I will be definitely seeing part two like the second it comes out.
See I think that might be a preference thing where I personally really love a cliffhanger.
Sure.
Like the part one, I think Endgame, Infinity War is another great example of it. Um, I fall for those things a little bit more. Like it adds a little bit more cred for me if you can throw in a cliffhanger that makes sense and leave me wanting more.
Sure.
See, I don't think Infinity War is a cliffhanger ending.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I was gonna say I think
Really?
Infinity War, because like for me it's about the objective of the story, and the objective of the story of Infinity War is, does Thanos get the stones? A, if he
Yep.
does get them, does the snap occur? If the movie had ended before he got the stones or before he did the snap, I would be similarly not upset, but I'd be like, oh, that was unfinished. But the fact that we definitively see he gets the stones, the snap happened, and the blip happened,
Interesting.
I'm like, that's definitive. The status quo, similar to Empire Strikes Back, the status quo of the end of Infinity War can be maintained. In fact, in Endgame, they jump ahead 5 years because they're like, yeah, that happened. And so I think
That's true.
I think that's the difference for me, again, with Across.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think I just see Across as more final of like, yeah, he's Miles's arc is I view it as complete. I view it more as Gwen's arc complete as being like, oh, I can lead this thing myself.
Oh yeah, I'm 100%. I'm 100% not trying to say you're wrong. I'm just
no. I'm just stating I want to.
Now that you've seen this one, I'm like, this is a view for me of like a part one that I thought ended more holistically.
Yeah,
that's all.
Josh,
I'm
I see that. I see that.
As far as part ones go, because I don't want to spoil it for you. How far are you into Harry Potter? Have you finished Deathly Hallows yet?
I did. I don't know if yeah. I finished the book.
Have you seen?
I have not seen the movies.
Okay, so Trent, I'm not sure that even that one ends on a cliffhanger.
No, it does. It's a definitive.
I would imagine
thing.
It doesn't.
It's a definitive thing
because
it ends before the Gringotts heist, right?
Yes, and then it picks up from there. But
I see what this makes sense.
Because you have like the end of Deathly Hallows Part 1 is kind of like the end of like the previous few movies where it's like, okay, we still got a mission to accomplish, but it's like the end of the section that they're going through. But,
yeah. No, I to your point though, this movie ends at an excellent spot to where know exactly what the next movie is going to be about, and it's going to be a heck of a ride.
I don't know how they're going to film what they're setting up in that final shot.
I don't either.
I'm like, are they about to do what I think they're going to do? Like,
it'd be pretty awesome. I mean, it'd be really fun. We get some
the fact that this was delayed to 2025. You all do not know the sadness I felt.
I feel for you now. I feel for you because it is that like exciting to get hype about.
I think you probably felt like I did when they delayed Dune 2.
Probably, actually.
Except they pushed it farther than they pushed Dune 2. Yeah. So you're suffering more than me. And
a little bit longer.
And as far as Dune 2 goes, I still know what happens because I read the book. And you're like, I got to know what happens next.
Yeah, like we literally have no idea.
Yeah. I'm going to give this movie an A-.
I'm gonna give it the old A+.
A+? I thought you were gonna go S tier.
No, it's not. Fallout is S tier for me, but not this one.
I can see that. I can totally see that. No, I really really enjoyed this movie. Okay, we're gonna a lot of the ones towards the end are stuff we've seen. So I'm going to jump ahead to those, and maybe we can just give our grades on those real quick.
Yeah.
Because we just talked about them on the podcast. Ahsoka Season 2.
B.
I will also do B.
Okay. I am also in the camp of this is a B. Not perfect, but had an extremely strong middle. Is kind of how I view this season of television. If you want to hear more of our thoughts about Ahsoka, you could just scroll back a little bit further and listen to those episodes. And then same with Loki. Loki season 2. What are y'all's grades?
B+.
Okay.
Just A.
Just A. Solid A. I'm gonna go right in the middle. A-. I really the ending did so much for me that it's got to be in that A category somewhere. So, there you go. Loki season 2. Again, if you want to hear more, you can listen to one of our previous episodes. Our Loki character study would be a good one to listen to. We'll stay in the realm of Marvel, as this is something that only Joseph you have seen. Can you tell us what your grade for the Marvels is? And spoiler free, because Trent and I definitely will go watch this
Yeah, we will
at
watch
some
this.
point, but it just
I'll
hasn't happened yet.
I'll give it a C.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's not horrible. And if you kind of look at it more as like a comedy type of movie, it's actually pretty funny.
I've heard
The
that.
the story is like one of the worst stories Marvel has ever done. The villain sucks. She's an accuser, like Ronan from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And if there's a weakness in the
Oh,
first Guardians of the Galaxy, it's Ronan.
For sure.
yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, the story is really not great. But man, there are some funny parts in this movie where I went with a coworker of mine, and me and him were just laughing at parts like, and it's not the unintentional laugh like when Wonder
Yeah.
Woman learns how to fly in Wonder Woman 1984. Like they're definitely trying for laughs, and it's really funny. There's like two scenes in particular that are among the funniest scenes Marvel's ever done. Um,
Wow.
yeah, they're hilarious. The rest of the movie is not great. Have to give a shout out to Iman Vellani as Miss
Yeah.
Marvel.
Of course.
Highlight of the movie. She was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just a C. It's not great.
No, but I like comedies, especially Marvel. I think they do comedy particularly well. So that makes me excited to give it a watch. I won't expect too much, but it'll be good. Um, okay, two more left on our list. We're gonna go back a little bit. The movie of the year from a box office standpoint was technically an IP movie, and that is Barbie.
Uh-huh.
We talked about this movie briefly on the podcast, but like I loved it. Um, I'll go ahead and give my grade and my reasoning for it real quick.
Sure.
I believe Barbie is a solid A.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen this movie twice now. It continues to be one of the funniest movies of the year to me. Ryan Gosling is a gem as Ken. I just think he's incredible. Like absolutely incredible. And Margot Robbie's incredible as Barbie, but with for more reasons than just the humor.
Sure.
Like there's an absolute depth there to the character of Barbie, which was surprising to me. And it's able to be a fun blockbuster and have a little bit more social commentary to it. It's nothing that profound, I would say, but it is important and meaningful. And I saw this movie twice. I saw it at a drive-in theater later in the summer, and it was still like magical for me.
Nice.
But I lost a little bit of the wow when you're not in the theater the day of release. Like it was definitely made for that blockbuster feel, like opening weekend feel.
Sure.
But it's still an A. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great movie.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this. I mean, I'm a sucker for like the classical old Hollywood style of movie making. So everything on like
Yeah.
the sound stages in Barbie Land and how they like made the look of the transportation scenes of like the fake water waves and all that stuff is just
Yeah.
great. And yeah, Ryan Gosling obviously sort of stole the summer. It feels like, I mean, fundamentally changed the way people think of the word sublime. But yeah, I think Margot Robbie is being a little bit forgotten in like the
Yep.
really subtle, beautiful performance she's doing here. In terms of the commentary stuff, sitting as a man talking about like what this movie has to say about womanhood, I think would play into some of the things the movie has to say in not a
Yeah.
good way. And so I'm not going to do that part. But I will say, as a guy, I think this movie actually has a shocking amount of empathy for male perspective too. And I think
Yeah.
I can understand how people might be taken aback by some of the narrative decisions like halfway through the movie, but I think if you stick with it, I think the movie has a lot of empathy for everyone involved, and I think if nothing else, you're probably gonna have a good time with the comedy and have a real good blast.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't work for me is the middle section with the Mattel CEO characters.
Yes.
Like that
Same.
like that 20-minute really does take me out of it, and so for that reason, I think I'm gonna have to. I'll still go with an A though. Yeah, for
A.
Barbie.
Okay, yeah, yeah. No, I feel like we have the same opinions on this movie, Trent. I know we talked a little bit about it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. Okay, I don't know how we ended up doing this one last, but guys, I'm excited. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles:
Oh,
Mutant Mayhem was a movie that came out this year, and
yes, it
boy, was it
was.
fun!
Yes, it
I
was.
had a blast. Joseph, you saw it in theaters and texted us about it like first, and then Trent and I have seen it since. Like, what was your initial reaction, Joseph?
This movie is nuts.
Yeah.
Like it is. I don't know what they were on when they were making this movie. Like this movie was just insane.
Yeah.
And I say that in a good way because I really enjoyed this movie. It's just completely bonkers what they do. Like the villain is like a mutated muscular fly,
At first.
and then he turns into like a mutated giant kaiju whale octopus fly monster. And and Shredder's not even really in it. Um,
Yep.
but I think the strength of the movie is the relationship between the brothers, and
100%.
Yeah.
they made them feel like teenagers, which I think
Yep.
is mostly forgotten. Usually, it's like young adult mutant ninja turtles,
Or like
and
Raphael has the voice or anger of like a 40-year-old man. Like he just
yeah,
has the energy of like, I've been trapped in the sewers for years.
and in this one, you really feel like they're teenagers. They
Yeah.
act like teenagers, but not in the way that adults think that teenagers act. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is really how they act. Like they're sneaking around. They're like absolutely trashing on each other for the whole movie. Like it's hilarious how much they just bully each other. And in the brotherly friend bullying way, not like the really toxic bullying way, where you can
Yeah.
still tell that they all really care about each other and they're got each other's backs. Splinter was Splinter was something else.
Hmm.
I was not expecting that when I watched the movie because Splinter's usually this basically rat Yoda,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in this movie, I really don't know how to describe him in a way that would do him justice for how insane it was. He falls in love with
Oh yeah. I don't even know.
like a cockroach,
Yeah.
and
It's crazy.
I don't know
But he's
this.
a dad, he's just a
He
dad
is a
that wants
dad,
to protect his kids.
and you can tell that too. Like you can tell the pain he's in when he sees the kids, and oh, what's the machine he always warns them against that they end up getting stuck in, like the blood milker or whatever it is that he's like, you're going to get stuck in the blood milk, and they're like, no, we're not, and then they're like, oh crap, it's the blood milker. Dad was right.
Yes, that's right.
um,
Yeah, it's so
I
good.
thought April was really fun in the movie. But yeah, I had a good time with it. This was another one though where the pacing was really weird.
Yeah.
There were a
Yeah, it
couple of
was.
times where I was like, this feels kind of long, so I'll probably stick it like a B. But I really enjoyed the movie. I
Yeah.
had a good time with it.
Yeah, I'm at a B plus. Everything you said, and I don't know if you shouted him out, but Paul Rudd nearly steals this movie for me.
Yes. Oh my gosh, he was great.
Yeah. No, but really fun. I think for the first time that, like you said, the teenage part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was nailed. And for that reason alone, this movie is worth checking out and having a good time with. But yeah, B plus for me.
Nah, I'm with you, Trent. It's a B plus for me. It's just a fun time. It's really just a fun time, and like the animation style being in that ilk of Spider Verse is just very comforting. At this point, we love it. Um,
I don't think it looked as good as Spider Verse though.
No,
There were
but
some
no,
like
it didn't.
there were
they
some
said though they were like we were trying to be inspired by Spider Verse and do our own thing. So I do think it
Yeah,
was somewhat intentional.
there
But yeah,
there some of the artistic stuff in it was really weird because there were some sections when April would look at the or would turn a certain way and her face would look like it was weird. Like it almost looked like Picasso painted it because there were like eyes in people's foreheads and then down by their nose. It
yeah,
was it was weird. It was
yeah,
definitely a choice, and I think that choice made the mutant characters look more normal than the regular characters sometimes. But I mean, that's just a
I could
small
get that.
thing. Overall,
Yeah.
it looked pretty good.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. Guys, we talked about a lot of
We
stuff.
talked about a lot.
There's a lot of stuff. And we're not done. So again, subscribe to this podcast, and we cannot wait to do our awards show, guys. The year is not over yet until we crown our winners, like movie of the year and TV show of the year. So stay tuned on the podcast feed, and then also stay tuned on social media. For Instagram and TikTok, follow us at The Stinger Pod. Guys, it was an absolute blast.
Yeah, thank you
Absolute
guys.
blast.
Loved reminiscing about all this stuff and, talking about some things that we didn't get a chance to earlier in the year. So really appreciate it.
I know. It feels good. It's cathartic. We
Yeah.
finally got to get so many things out. I think the fact that Joseph really got to finally talk about Strange New Worlds is really that's what
That
we're
might be
here
the
for
podcast
today.
highlight for me, genuinely. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, same.
Just
Man,
seeing how much
I-
passion.
I know.
I just loved it. I'm not going to get started again, but man, it was good.
I can see the tears forming right now.
Yeah.
I was literally just sitting here. You were talking about the award show, and I was like, I got to add some Strange New World stuff into
Yes, you
that
do.
award sheet.
Yes, you do. Well, you'll have to come back around to find out what Joseph put on the list. So thank you all for listening, and we will be back soon.